welcome to Issues for Construction. I'm your host, Jonathan Jacobs. Today I got with me some gentlemen from Canada, not in Ontario, not on the East Coast, I would say almost on the West Coast, Western Canada. Today I've got with me Matthew Kennedy and Mark Erickson from Studio North in Calgary. Gentlemen, thank you for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to do this, waste some time with me, but the time will not be wasted for those listening. So for those that are unaware, the two gentlemen run a highly successful practice out of Calgary, studied architecture actually with my sister-in-law, who recommended that I connect with you. So thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, we miss you,
Sherry. And just having had a brief chat earlier in the week, just thought that this is going to be a great opportunity for those that are listening to get to know these talented gentlemen. So all that said, I'm going to do a quick little throw to you fellas and ask either of you, and you can decide which one's going to start. Listening to Matt and Mark talk about their architectural journey, it's amazing how many of their pivotal moments, you're about to find out, revolve around food and drink. For those early days of getting paid in sandwiches and coffee to surviving on peanut butter and jelly while building a kids' camp, to bringing their college together over cold beer, food and drink are the ultimate connector. That's exactly why my friends at Kaplan's Appliances understand better than anyone that food and drink are the most important parts of what bring people together, unifying relationships, solidifying relationships. At Kaplan's, they know the heart of any home is the kitchen. Remember, Matt and Mark's early days are fueled by coffee. Just keep that in mind. Imagine elevating that daily ritual with the state-of-the-art built-in Miele coffee maker from Kaplan's, delivering barista quality espresso right in your own home. Or think about those endless peanut butter and jelly sandwiches from their time in Prince Edward Island. There is no better way to enjoy that classic comfort food than with perfectly chilled jelly pulled straight from a top-of-the-line Sub-Zero refrigerator. Sub-Zero is legendary for advanced climate control, keeping your produce crisp and your ingredients fresh for much longer. And when it's finally time to clock out and unwind with a cold beer, just like the guys used to do after a long day in the studio, Kaplan's has you covered with premium, under-the-counter beverage centers that keep your favorite drinks frosty and ready to hand out. Kaplan's stocks the absolute best in the industry in brands. Sub-Zero, Wolf, Miele, Jen Air, Fisher & Paykel, La Cornue, KitchenAid, and Bosch, and way more. But here's the truth. None of these premium appliances really matter if you don't have people to share them with. So as Matt and Mark showed us today, life's greatest experiences happen alongside family, friends, and coworkers. And you're going to hear all about it. It all stems from connection. Kaplan's isn't just selling you a fridge or an oven. They are providing the tools to help you host, share, and build lifelong relationships over incredible meals and drinks. When you partner with Kaplan's, you're partnering with a team that understands the true importance of the memories made in your kitchen. So whether you're designing a new space or upgrading your current one, build it around the people you love. You can find out more about Kaplan's in the liner notes or email me directly. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca. Now, back to Matt and Mark. What was it like for you, and what kind of child were you? Where did you grow up? Where were you born? Where did you grow up? Is it in the same place? And what kind of child were you? Do you remember what kind of child you were, or what kind of child were you told that you were? Either of you can answer.
Matt, you can go.
All right, I can lead. Yeah.
All right, here goes Matt.
I was born in Halifax, but raised in Calgary and on an acreage. And I think that kind of just like, out building forts, shooting pellet guns, kind of like feral childhood in that way. And I've always, yeah, feral, just kind of out the door and go with my sisters and friends. And, always the builder. I remember my dad, he bought me a table saw when I was 12. And I have a son now, and I think that's like crazy because you could like cut limbs off easily with a table saw. But
And
you
back
know,
then they didn't have the safety. They didn't have any of the safety features that they have now.
no, not at all. Yeah, terrifying. But still have all my fingers, which is great. And my parents just super encouraging. They kind of just everything I kind of was interested in. They were very like supportive. Like I wanted to be a builder. I love making. I love creating things, and they always kind of like, would buy me the tools that I wanted. They would drive me to my first job as I was part of like the registered apprenticeship program. So like, they drive me all over town every day, just learning how to be a builder.
And when you say you were always building, did it start when you were young? Like, were you using pillows and cushions to build forts in your house? Or were you using sheets to cover them off? Were you creating a pitched roof? Were you creating flat roof? What were you doing?
Well, do you know what we would like we would raid like construction bins of like houses that were getting built, and then we would take all that material and go out into the woods and put it together, and we would make these like really elaborate kind of forts in the middle of shrubs, and we'd booby trap them, and kind of these like
booby trap them.
Yeah, these terrifying things to like come across as an adult with your dog just out for a nature walk, but kind of these really imaginative things when you're a kid watching Home Alone and not thinking of consequences for your actions. Yeah.
Okay.
It was just I would say like my parents just like they just let me kind of just out the door and go type of childhood.
And what do your parents do?
My mother's an entrepreneur. She ran a restaurant for 26 years, like the hardest working person I know. And my dad also entrepreneur. He kind of like, in pharmaceuticals and like owning businesses, that type of real estate development, kind of like had his fingers in kind of everything.
Interesting.
So just kind of like that, go get it type personalities, I guess, growing up.
Yeah, and I get that would explain them feeding you.
Yeah.
Curiosity. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And Mark, what about you?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Calgary. Yeah, I had a sort of a magical, childhood. My dad, I think, was probably the biggest influence on me. Just growing up with him, he was the type of guy that he had a wood shop, basically a shop with every single tool you could ever imagine. And he was like always very resourceful. Like he grew up in Canmore and worked with his dad in a service station, and he had to know how to fix everything. And he kind of like ran the show for his dad in the service station. So he was just like really kind of a jack of all trades kind of guy, and a believer in that anything and everything can be fixed. So he had a shop that, had every tool making or metal making tool and woodworking tool you could ever imagine. So, whenever I had something come up in my head out of my imagination, he would bring me to the shop and say, okay, here's your idea. Let's make it happen. And we do some drawings first and like talk about it. And then he'd say, okay, you just go. He was kind of like an organized hoarder. Like he would just have like everything he would keep every little thing like wires and like little motors and, just somehow you would just make things appear out of nowhere, like to make these ideas real. So we would talk about it, my idea, and then draw it through. And then he would put the tools and the materials in front of me and say, okay, here's all the stuff we need to make this thing real. And then he would kind of help me through it. Like if there was depending on my age, he would, help me with some of the tools if they're a little bit too dangerous for my age. But eventually, he really like helped me learn how to use tools and how to like shape things, how to work with different materials. And so I think that was a huge influence. And when I went through art school, like we were still collaborating and making crazy stuff in his garage because my ideas just got crazier.
Like what was both of you, what were some of the interesting things that you can remember you came up with that kind of you look back on now, you're like, I can't believe we did that?
Oh man. Well, when I was really early on, I was really into like go-karts. And so he like cobbled together like from an old golf cart. He got these two wheels that could be tied to a steering wheel. So he like showed me how to like make a steering wheel, make wheels turn. And then he went and got like 2 wheels from a wheelbarrow, and we just made this really cool downhill racer. And, you know, I got to paint it and like just make it my own. And man, I love that thing. And then, you know, as I got older and doing art projects, I wanted to make this like panning, like surveillance camera. And he went and got like a rotisserie chicken motor that he had like just stashed for whatever reason, because it had to do that slow pan. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, you know, somehow he just made it happen. And so he kind of just opened my eyes to like making ideas real and how to actually do that, and being hands-on and understanding like how an idea can take shape and become reality. So I think that was huge. And then my mom, she was a glass blower, so she did neon glass as a career. In fact, I think she was the only female that does it in Canada. So it was quite an art, and it was like she would bring me to work all the time when I was young, just because we didn't really have caretaking at the time. So she'd bring my sister and I to work with her, and we got to just, you know, see what she's doing and get, you know, and play around in this shop that had all sorts of crazy things in it, and which was also really fun and inspiring.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any items that you are currently making now? Just as an aside, are you customized lighting fixtures or anything like that you're building?
I got my own little side. Like Matt and I, we've always been like, you know, into doing our own little projects for ourselves. So yeah, I just finished doing a garage, and I'm doing this really cool interior window. It's basically going to be stained glass.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I'm working with my mom to design and build that, and my dad too. He's going to do the steel work. So we're still to this day, you know, making stuff together, which is really fun.
That's amazing. Okay. What about like after school extracurricular activities, or even in school? Like, were you involved in any intramurals or any teams, or were you part of any clubs? What did that look like as you were kind of going through elementary school into middle school?
Do you know what? I always like in shop. Like I would be in shop at lunch. I would take shop twice in a year. Like I just loved woodworking. So that was kind of my thing. I just like absolutely loved it. Even like classes that weren't related to shop, somehow I ended up in the shop building something for a teacher, or it was just kind of like it had a gravity to it, that wood shop at our school. And like with Mark, he had a little bit more, like, I would say, imaginative experience, like learning how to use tools. I was more like building fine furniture. You know, that was like where I started. You know, it's like learning from Norm Abram. I don't know if you remember that TV show, The New Yankee Workshop. But just like learning from all kinds of different, like, before YouTube, like TV shows. I had a great shop teacher who was just like really kind of like empowering, where he would just let me work in the shop by myself, you know, without supervision. He kind of trusted me enough to not cut a finger off. Yeah.
What was one of the first pieces of, as you call it, fine furniture that you made?
Do you know what I built? I was actually just at my aunt's house, and I was looking at it. And it's a really beautiful end table that made out of solid maple. Like I turned the center of it on a lathe, all like mortise and tenon joints for the legs. I just like think of how much time that took me to make, and like now life's so busy with family and stuff. I'm like, I would never do this again. You know, it's like, you know, just like, and it is now. Whenever I look at, like, I'll be at someone's house and just see like a really nice, beautiful piece of furniture. I'm just like examining how it's made. You know, conversations are happening around me. I'm like, all right, let me look at this.
Spacing out on that and focused on the item.
I'll be back in 5 minutes. Sorry.
Punch the clock.
Yeah.
All right, I'll rejoin this conversation in a couple minutes, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. My wife knows. She's like, all right, just give him 2 seconds. He'll be right back.
Yeah, he'll rejoin. Mark, what about you? Like, outside of rotating, what did you say it was? An oscillating camera?
Oh yeah, the rotisserie chicken motor. Yeah, that was in my art school days. But yeah, when I was growing up, I got into a little bit of sports, but I was really into doing cartooning. So, I really like drawing. And to this day, I still draw in the
Who were
margin.
you drawing?
Who was I drawing?
Yeah.
Oh, I would just make up characters, or I was really into the Sunday morning cartoons, and so I would always try to like draw those, whichever ones I was into, like Calvin and Hobbes, or in fact, I actually got there was always this competition in the Edmonton Journal, because I was living there for a couple of years, because we got transferred there as a kid, and there was a competition for kids that if they drew a comic strip and they liked it, they would put it in the paper. So like every week I would be putting in, and eventually I got one in, and I was so proud of that. I still have it like laminated, and it's still at my parents' place. But I was always like,
can a photo of this make its way over to me when we're done in some capacity, so we can put it on
sure
on Instagram stories?
I'd have to dig it out of
that's okay.
Yeah, it's somewhere, but yeah,
Sounds
that was
to me like you guys are resourceful and you got some tools. You can do the digging.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I was really into drawing, and that was something since I was a kid I would just love drawing, and I still do to this day. Whether it's architecture or just doing doodles of something that comes to mind, and that's something I love doing to this day.
Just a couple of minutes ago, Mark brought up the fact that his mom was a pioneer in neon glass blowing. That is a massive and incredibly creative skill set. Working with glass is a true art form, and hearing him talk all about it reminded me of the importance of glass in the spaces we build and how it connects us to the outdoors. When you are working on amazing custom homes or commercial projects, the glass should absolutely be the focal point. The frame should not be loud. The view should be the star. That is exactly why you need to know about our partner, The Doors, a premium European window and door supplier. The team at The Doors focuses heavily on thin frames to enhance your viewing experience because it simply changes everything. Imagine looking out from a beautiful custom build outside of Calgary. You want to see the mountains, the trees, perhaps the wildlife. What you don't want to see is a bulky frame obstructing the natural connection. The Doors offer an incredible range of solutions, including European tilt and turn windows, all aluminum products with great R values and superior thermal breaks, as well as amazing low-profile steel products. If you are looking to push the boundaries of design, they can handle everything from strict passive house requirements to 20-foot high spans and 20-foot wide spans. Imagine a 90-degree return in a corner, creating absolute pools of glass that pick up everything you want to see in the distance or right up close. With 20 years in the business, the team at The Doors are absolute experts at this service. They are involved in every single step, from shop drawings and fabrication oversight all the way through to installation and ongoing service. They understand the immense importance of relationships in this industry and ensure the entire process is seamless. If you want to learn more and elevate your next project, head to the liner notes of this episode to connect with The Doors directly. I've included all the details for the fantastic team at The Doors, including Martin and Marta, who have been the owners since inception and put a massive value on lasting partnerships. Or you can email me directly. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at issued4construction.ca. Now, back to Studio North.
And then as you made your way through school and you were looking to university, how did you decide and how did you determine that the path you'd want to go on is the path that you're on? Or had you gone to study something else and deviate? What did it look like?
You know what? It was when I was in university, I kind of just had like a little side hustle as a carpenter. I studied to be a journeyman carpenter, and then I went to university to study urban design, and I was taking art classes. And I remember when I was applying to architecture school, my drawing teacher, she's like, why don't you just go be a carpenter? You're already doing it. Why are you thinking about architecture school? And for me, I wanted that like formal background and like how to design something, just that opportunity to learn, I guess. And that's actually where Mark and myself first met, was in art school at U of C. even though he is a year older than me, and we went to the same high school, drove the exact same car, a red 240 SX. We didn't know each other. It was like a really big high school.
Red 240, manual or automatic?
Manual.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Okay, so make sure.
Fastback.
Rear-wheel
Yeah.
drive, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's really balanced. It's a drifter. Those are hard to come by these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the 240, the Datsuns are now like the hot resto mod.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ours was the 1990 or 1989 Nissan. That's when, that was the year that was really popular.
Mark had a really nice one because he still had it after grad school. Mine, whenever I floored it, I'd have this massive plume of black smoke that would fly out the back.
A little late on your oil changes?
Yeah. A little rich.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. Like we went to the exact same high school, didn't know each other in high school, drove the same car.
How did that happen? If you grew up out east?
Oh, I was born in Halifax and grew up in Calgary. So, and Mark and myself, and Mark and myself, like we literally grew up 5 minutes away from each other, and we just didn't know each other really until we met kind of a bit at U of C, and then when we moved to Halifax to go to Dalhousie University, we were across the street from each other. So it was like friendship out of convenience, I like to say, and it's kind of stuck since.
Cool. Okay. And so you became friends in high school?
No, we didn't know each other in high school.
Oh,
our school was huge. It's like the biggest like private school in Calgary. Like my graduating class was like 1,000 people.
Your
I remember
graduating class was 1,000?
Yeah, like I remember sitting in the convocation hall and like seeing people go up to graduate. I'm like, in my class, I'd never seen before. I was like, that person I have never seen before in my life.
Was it was it a 3-day ceremony? Did they do it like?
Oh, it was like an all
into thirds.
Oh yeah, it was a marathon. I remember. Yeah. It was,
that's wild.
So it's not surprising, Matt and I, because we weren't in the same year in the same graduating class. So
Mark was cooler than I was too. So
I don't know if that's true.
I mean, he had the car that didn't blow black smoke.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying too hard.
I feel like your graduation could have been like Osheaga or something like that, where you have like the main stage, the side stage, and you got to pick who you want to go see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could have been.
So you just happened, both of you, to apply and get accepted into Dal.
Yeah.
At which point, that's where you met.
That's where we met. We ended up moving in like on the same street, just like across the street from each other on Barrington Street in Halifax.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how did you put it together? You met obviously while you were there, but like how did
we had one art class together, and that was like the year before we were graduating from our undergrad, and so we just knew that we were both applying for architecture schools, so we were just chit-chatting and talking about our application and where we're trying to go, and that's how we knew we were both going to Halifax.
Crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
But I would say it was kind of like sparks right away, like in terms of like that creative connection Mark and I have.
Yeah.
We started making things pretty much like the first week at architecture school, like collaborating. Like we built a coffee table for his apartment.
Yeah.
So we were kind of like always hustling like little side projects, like designing little doodle, like we'd be designing and then we'd go to the shop and make these things. And our first project was this really cool coffee table that had this little shadow reveal where you could hide magazines where you couldn't see it, like in the middle of the coffee table. And then it's kind of like, then all through school, we were kind of each other's like sounding boards, always kind of helping each other make each other's work as great as we possibly could, type of thing.
Yeah, we were definitely hustlers as students in architecture school. Like we would do our classwork, but we would always have something going on the side. Like we would always have a little thing where we would have, Matt, myself, and a couple other classmates. We would just in the evenings just get together and do drawings and talk about all sorts of different creative things. And it didn't always have to be about architecture. And then we would always find opportunities to do like murals or parade floats, just things on the side that, you know, allowed us to actually like put real cool ideas out in the world. And so we would always take any opportunity we could find to like something really fun and creative.
And did you have jobs while you were in school, or was it school solely?
Oh, it was just full on school.
Yeah, we racked up the student debt. No regrets. Just paid it off. Yeah. But
Okay.
you know what? It was it was like a kind of like a pretty awesome few years of our life where, you know, we were just kind of feeding that passion in terms of we were totally fine with getting B's in school because we were always just hustling in terms of making these other projects reality. One of our first like big projects was a kids camp, and it's kind of crazy to think that we got this opportunity, but it's like one of those things you kind of just say it and someone believed we could do it and we just kind of went for it. So our first project was it's called Camp at Cabot Beach, and it's a kids camp on the northern coast of Prince Edward Island. And my roommate, his family started this kids camp, and I was a camp counselor for it. And we would they would just rent an old Boy Scouts camp, and we'd go there like a day or two early and just kind of patch the roof, you know, make sure it wasn't like leaking on kids. Kind of these like poorly built like camps and all over. They would change every year type thing. And then they said, "Hey, would you guys be interested in building a kids camp?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. What a great opportunity." So we literally, while we were in school, we were lobbying to the PEI government in terms of putting together a whole like, kind of like sales package for it, where we put together a schematic design, a budget. The government gave us a lease for 13 acres of land for like $1 a year, like on the northern coast, like right by Cabot Beach. And then we literally took the next 4 months off between undergraduate and grad school and built this kids camp. So
In 4 months?
it was insane. We like lived, like we just like, it was actually kind of a weird thing where we lived on the job site
I
and
believe
all
it.
the materials came in. And it was a really weird feeling after it was done, because it was like the first time kind of like leaving this place that you were just in it from like
You were
sun up
fully
to sundown,
immersed.
totally immersed. And just like knowing like, I don't know when I'm going to come back here. And it was literally just, and it turned out beautifully. And like, we always joke that you need like a good deadline to finish a project. Like when we moved into our new studio, it's like, you got to host the party, you set the date. For this kids camp, it was, you know, the kids were coming, you know, it was like, we had to have it finished for the kids to come because they're already planning on being there. So it was kind of like this real pressure cooker. I think I was 23.
Yeah,
and
I was 24.
kind of trial by fire. But you know, the camp really is kind of one of my favorite projects to date. It's like turned out beautifully. Yeah,
Well,
just like a lot of ideas that we came up with in architecture school and were able to execute like really nicely is, I think, maybe a product of going to Dalhousie. Like simple forms, you know, but like very effective.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the very beginning of our career, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
working
And it
together.
was also like really quite an experience to be there and be camp counselors afterwards. To like, you build this thing and then you get to see the kids actually use it and experience it. And that was like
That's
so
what I was going to allude to before. Yeah.
yeah. So like, you know, we got to like conceive of it, design it, and then build it, and then see it actually being used, you know.
Mhm.
And that all happened over a span of like half a year between design, build, and the camp actually happening. So
And how
It
many
was-
people were involved?
There was like 5 of us who were like on site building. So we were, and then it was actually a pretty awesome education in construction too. We had, so I apprenticed as a finishing carpenter. And I had some experience framing, but like I wasn't a framer by any means. But we had an instructor from the trade school. He would come at the beginning of every kind of like part of the process and work with us for a day. Like we're doing foundations, we do And then we would like work that entire week, get all the foundations done. And then you'd come, all right, now we're doing,
the deck,
like floor plates. All right. Then we do all the floor plates and like, now we're doing walls. Then we do all the walls. Like now we're doing roofing, so it was this, this great education in construction because we were learning from a really talented carpenter to see this project through. Right. And when you're young, you're kind of like, we had endless energy, like literally sun up to sundown, eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That was it. It was like we just lived and breathed it.
And when you were living there, were you living like in a tent, or had you made like a makeshift shelter for yourselves to live in that was like closed off from the elements?
It's kind of both. We had one of the cooks, volunteer cooks, lent us her camper, and it was actually like the first time I really experienced like environmental sensitivities. Like it had mold in it. And one day I woke up and my eyes were swollen shut. Like I couldn't open my eyes. And like I had to go to the hospital and they gave me like literally like a lotion to like squeeze under my eyelids. And then I spent the rest of the summer in a tent. Yeah. So it was
your camper's got mold. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. And now every time I like go into a house and I start sneezing, I'm like, there's mold in the walls. I'm like the canary in the coal mine now. It's like, you don't want this one.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Mark, do you have any experience with that or no?
Well, so my journey with that was that I kept on going. Like Matt and a couple other of our colleagues and friends took the year off, but I kept on going through into my master's, which actually like ended up working out really well because there was a few other opportunities that kind of lined themselves up naturally with the camp sort of ending. So at Dalhousie, we do it's kind of like a 2-week design build, and we went out to Cabot Beach or Cape Breton, and there's a place called Shetty Camp, and we did some experimental structures, and I was experimenting with lamella structures. And so we came up with kind of a prototype of a lamella structure, and our instructor just happened to have like a big grant to do a kind of like kind of a shelter at a performing arts center. And basically he needed a little bit of support to make this thing happen and to like use this grant money. And Matt was just finishing up with the camp, and so I said, I might know the guy that could like really make this thing work. And so I said, get in touch with Matt. And so Matt, that was his next project because he still had about like, half a year off before he started his master's. And so he went on to like lead that project and make another really awesome design build. So the lamella structure, you could check it out on our website. It's really neat as well. And Matt can probably talk a little bit more about what that was like.
Yeah, Mark was like, our professor had $90,000 left in a grant and he had to use it up right away. So I reached out to him and he's like, yeah, can you spend all the money in the next like 2 weeks? Like, yeah, sure. So he like,
yes.
So literally
I need an alternator for my car. So yes.
Yes. So we were literally just buying like pallets of materials, like not really quite having the design sorted yet. And so a lamella structure, it's a really interesting structure. What we came up with, it spans 20 feet, but the longest timber structure is only 3 feet long. So it's this really kind of beautiful weave of timber membrane or timber elements that come together to create this structure. And it was, I think, developed in World War II for bomb shelters because you could like get hit by a bomb and the whole thing wouldn't come down. It would just kind of take out that one section. But really beautiful. You see a lot in the East Coast for like big arenas and skating rinks, things like that. But we went out to it's called Ross Creek Center for the Arts, and I remember it was like kind of like this opportunity, go out there, and it was just in the fall, and I moved into their old farmhouse, and I got snowed in for 4 days by myself. And no cell phone reception. You can't see like no internet. You can't see a neighbor as far as you can look. And I didn't know out there, like the furnace, you had to like fill up oil in the furnaces out east. So like it ran out of oil. So I'm like freezing in this farmhouse, and it's like a performing arts farm center. So in the day it's really cool, but at night there's like, all this like creepy shit all over the house, like a horse's head mounted, and like, just kind of like the scene from The Shining or something. But it was actually really awesome because all I had was my laptop with no internet. So I just had to model and remodel to figure out how to build this lamella structure. And that's kind of like when we figured out how to bring it all together. And then we spent that winter cutting all the pieces and then assembled it in the spring.
Is this the Ross Creek Dining Hall?
Yeah, the Ross Creek Dining Hall. And that was one of those projects too that kind of turned out better than you had imagined. It's like really, really beautiful. Now it's like this awesome amenity for the center. They have like weddings. Like we know a few friends who've gotten married there. It's like kind of like this really beautiful building and structure and this really incredible landscape.
Yeah, and all figured out as a result of being stuck.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Listening to Matt describe creating a beautiful building with an incredible landscape gets right to the heart of why we built, to elevate our environments. But if you want to create a true oasis and a stunning, organic look right in your backyard, you need to look at the team at Aquanta Pools. Earlier in the show, Matt talked about his absolute nightmare dealing with mold inside that camper and PEI. Well, Aquanta Pools uses an exclusive biodesign technology straight out of Italy that is built using a specialized resin. Because of the nature of this resin, it actively combats the opportunity for mold and mildew to grow. But here's the really incredible part of the engineering and construction standpoint. This resin allows for expansion and contraction of up to 300% per foot. If you work in construction, you know what a game changer that is. You completely eliminate the geotechnical worries, the ground movement issues, and the massive cracking that can happen with traditional concrete pools. Plus, it requires a much lighter excavation, saving time and impact on your property. And once your beautiful, organic-looking oasis is built, you have total flexibility for your water care. Aquanta Pools are fully compatible with ozone, bromine, chlorine, or saltwater systems. Yuri, the owner, has been an expert in the pool industry for 20 years and leads an absolutely amazing team. If you're looking to build a backyard landscape that seamlessly blends with nature without the headaches of concrete, feel free to connect with me directly. I can introduce you to him and his team. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca, or you can head over to the liner notes and connect direct. I'd be more than happy to make a personal connection to him and the Aquanta Pools team. That's why we're here, making connections. But now, let's reconnect with the show and hear more from Matt and Mark.
You're lucky you still have power.
Yeah, no doubt.
Go ahead.
No, it was like definitely kind of like, I think that's another thing that I think Studio North does pretty well is, we're storytellers. We love telling stories. And I think, part of it is like telling stories of what we're doing. And we had, later that year, it was like an architecture festival in Halifax, the RAIC Architecture Festival in Halifax. And they had an event there with, all the architects came to the school, and it was like kind of a networking thing. And I'm just kind of like I love those events. I love meeting people. And I was telling one of the guys about all the stuff that we were doing. And he kind of like, set this course that really kind of like in front of us that really led to Studio North, where he got our first like Ross Creek Center for the Arts and Camp at Cabot Beach projects published in Canadian Architect Magazine and 20 and Change. That it's kind of like a publication of like design practices.
I know what it is.
Yeah, in Canada. Yeah. And we were students, and we kind of just made up this like fake firm name called Idea Tank. And it was like based on when Mark and myself, we'd like smoke a J with our friends and like come up with like silly ideas, and we called it Idea Club. So that was like, so we came up with this fake practice called Idea Tank, and we had interns from other universities applying to work for us while we were like finishing our.
We were still students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that like,
Entrepreneurship.
That's right.
yeah, and then I think just like kind of like hustling as students, and I think also just like Student North, we have like a great social media, and part of that is like our storytelling, and it led to one of our first projects out of university, which was like one of our first paid gigs was an installation for Nuit Blanche in Toronto. So it's just like it's, you're doing all these things and you don't know where they're going to lead, especially in university, and it's kind of just like kind of unfolded into this like pretty like interesting and rewarding career so far.
And eclectic. I mean, a whole bunch of different types of projects.
Yeah,
before you're even out of school.
Yeah, it's like I felt like we've had a career in architecture before we even like started our career in architecture.
Yeah.
And you had employees.
Yeah.
Business. So
they all
so
made
there's
as much as we did. Yeah. 0.
So tell me, like, what did it look like as you went through your master's program and you wrapped it up? Was there ever an opportunity to be able to do any form of travel and experience other cities, countries, and how that informed you and what your pursuits were?
I think Mark has like a great story about that. Like, while I was finishing, because Mark, our years of graduating were staggered. So I was in grad school, and Mark went to Africa to teach architecture.
Yeah, so there's a really great program for graduates to go to the Gambia, which is kind of in West Africa. It's kind of like the lesser known country. It's kind of landlocked, except for a little chunk of West Coast that's on the Pacific Ocean. But it's a really interesting country, and I learned a lot there. Like, I feel like I learned more than I could teach, just in terms of, it's such a different culture and a different way of life. And one of the biggest takeaways was learning about family compounds. Yeah. So it's just a different sort of way of living that's so different than how we go about it here. And so basically a family compound is just like a walled piece of land that each family kind of owns for generations and generations. And the houses they build traditionally out of mud and thatch. And, depending on the constellation of the family, like houses are built and then taken down, depending on their needs. So, if there's new children or the grandparents pass away or whatever, like it's always evolving and changing, depending on the family's needs. And I thought that was just like such a beautiful thing. And so I really learned about that, and just like multi-generational living, aging in place, like that's all kind of just inherent to the way they live. Yeah. And in a lot of ways, like counter to the way we go about living. Like everybody wants their own house with their own white picket fence and, single family houses, suburbs, like it's very different. And so, and I saw the value in family, like in family compounds. And, I think that was one of the big learnings that I brought back from the Gambia was like, maybe we can live differently here that is like more supportive and more like family oriented, and, where we can sort of rely on each other more, because there was something really nice about that and that really strong sense of community. So I think that was really interesting too, because I came back from the Gambia and Matt was doing his thesis on laneway housing. And so that was like, there was a lot of really interesting sort of crossovers with laneway housing, this idea of like another house on your property that could be, for a landing pad for your kids once they come out of university, or for, aging in place, or just kind of creating a different sort of opportunity for evolving lifestyles as your family changes. So I think that was really cool because, those ideas I think were kind of interwoven a little bit, especially as we started our firm and started really trying to get laneway housing on the go here in Calgary.
I feel also would allow you for some internal reflection on the the real true needs of what you need for space and how to live.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about the idea of like, yeah, having this suburban home and all the rest of it, but you know, the magnitude of some homes that exist is it's amazing. Like if you can do it and you want it, great. But also, like, what do you need? And waste and all, what does that look like? And like, I understand luxury construction is a part of it, and it's amazing. Like it really is. It's great. But at the same time, the concept of multifamily generational homes is a beautiful thing. There was a documentary that came out, I think it was about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago now, on Netflix, called The Blue Zones. And it was rooted in these areas within the world where the age demographic could hit over 100 consistently. The age demographic, people could reach the century mark consistently.
Right. Yes.
And all of those regions were based on that same principle of having family living together in a multi-generational home and empowering the elder aged people into active elements of the community. So they were still involved in some capacity with like farming, and they were still involved with the maintenance of the home. What's funny is, like, we mentioned Sherry before. So her grandmother, I guess my grandmother-in-law, she's 97. She's living in a home by herself, and she's like actively looks after all of it, like all of it. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
But that it's you know, she's living alone, but the concept of that, where here traditionally in like mainly in North America, we don't put that relevance into our elderly. We don't.
Yeah. Well, that's again, like, I think inherent in how they live in the Gambia. The elders are like, they have so much power. Well, not power, but like people respect them because they,
and their wisdom.
There's an issue in the community, like you go to your elder to resolve it, you know, and they have this wisdom that everybody respects and reveres, you know, like there's so much power, like there's so much part of the community. And there's, I think, a difference, like there's elders and then there's elderly. Like it's a very different thing, right? Like here we call them elderly and we're like, okay, let's find, you know, a home to put them in and, you know, get them out of our way kind of thing. But there it's like, how do we make sure that that wisdom and that knowledge is passed down to the next generation, you know? And it's really just like a part of the way they live. Like the elders, they live in these family compounds and they're a huge part of everyday life for everybody. So like they're part of like raising the grandchildren, and they're part of the everyday sort of, you know, responsibilities of the family. So, you know, I think that's like a huge part of multi-generational living, sort of interdependent living, which, you know, I think is really great. And I think maybe that's part of some of the things that we like to get involved with. Like I remember one of the laneway houses that our very, very first one we did in Hillhurst, they had their grandparents where they were in need of housing, and they didn't want to just put them in an apartment somewhere. A laneway house is great because they could have them there, have them close so that they could spend a lot of time with the grandchildren, but also they could have meals together, they could cook for each other, you know. And there's something great about that. Like I have 2 kids, and like having your grandparents being involved and helping you like carve some time for yourself when you need it, and you know, like there's something beautiful about that. And I think our society would be better off if we lived more like that.
Cool. Oh yeah, no question.
Yeah,
I mean, we're like, you're kind of taught, and I just like, you think of children and how they respond to what they're told, and a lot of kids in North America will talk back versus absorb and appreciate and say thanks. You know, it's like there's a completely different cultural acknowledgement of like what it is to be older than them.
Exactly.
Okay, so that was great. Some good philosophical conversation there. So moving back from Gambia, what was it like? Did you have this like culture shock of moving home? And how long were you there?
I was there for about 6 months.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and it was a bit of a culture shock because, obviously when I landed there, it was a culture shock, but then I kind of got immersed and like really really felt like I was a part of it. And then I came back, and I remember there was this one moment, there was a lady that was on the sidewalk kind of, canvassing for money for doing some programs in Africa. And I just kind of got into this big conversation with her about it because in a way, I don't think she understood what they need there. Like she was raising money to like set up these sort of Western style education facilities. And I was like, what we need to do? We need to bring we do need a program to bring like African, like actual elders from there to come here and teach us some things, like it's not a one-way street. That's what I really learned was that, I'm not going there to teach them. I learned more. I think I learned a lot more than I could teach was what I kind of came back with. And because I think there's a lot of things from there that, I think could make us better. So I think that was the biggest thing. And it was a life changer for me, for sure, in terms of the way I see architecture in practice, and just how architecture can have like a huge impact on people. I think that was like the biggest thing I came back with.
I mean, I didn't even really get into it, but I just if you can touch on it quickly, what were you teaching there, and how often, in what capacity?
Yeah, I was teaching at the GTTI, so the Gambia Technical Institute, basically their architecture program.
Okay.
And so I was kind of like more of an assistant teacher, but I took on a big role there, like kind of teaching, 3D modeling, and just like a lot of it was just like getting them to be able to use sort of skills and representation and just some of the sort of basics in how to design around sort of environmental conditions. And but it was really focused on family compounds. And so that's how I got to really get into what family compounds were all about, because we did a lot of case studies and we got to go out to actually real family compounds and meet families and understand how they actually live in these compounds. So yeah, so it was really fun. Like I feel like I taught a lot of technical skills and like, how to use Creative Suite and SketchUp and things like that. But really I was learning all about like culture and ways of living while I was there, because it was so different that there was so much to kind of take in, understand.
Well, and you clearly had an interest in wanting to learn it. That's you.
Yeah, totally.
So what did it look like upon your return at that point?
Yeah, so Matt was doing his thesis, and I was kind of, I don't know how else to say it. You could probably cut this out if you need, but I was his thesis bitch.
Yeah.
That's okay. Let's keep it. I like that.
Yeah. So I was just like, I got a job and I was working at a firm, but I was also, I found a bunk, like I was sleeping in Matt's room, and we were just making his thesis. So I was just helping him make, models, and he would just send me off to do whatever he needed me to do, drawings or whatever, to like get his thesis done, which was a lot of fun because it was laneway housing. And I think that's when, we really put our minds together about a lot of cool ideas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mark was kind of like my ace in the hole. It was awesome. I remember I was like having a conversation with one of my profs, and I'm like, yeah, I got Mark doing this model. I got my friend here doing these renderings. And he's like, okay, well, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm organizing all this,
Yeah, I'm coordinating.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're still hustling, doing all these little side projects. So we made this like really cool bench for fishing off the harbor, like a cantilevered off the harbor, so you can like sit and fish. So I remember Matt's professor saw us like on our bikes bringing this thing down to the harbor, and he's like, what are you doing? You should be doing your thesis. And we're like, oh, we got to test this chair. It's like,
we're wearing chaya pants that Mark brought back from Africa.
Yeah. Yeah. but yeah, that was like a lot of fun because and the other thing that we were known for was like throwing the best parties. Like our house was kind of the place where there would be a party every weekend. And so we really enjoyed that, like just being that kind of like outlet for everybody at the school to come and
also being the hub. You say the outlet, but also the hub.
Yeah, in a way, for sure. Like the idea club, whether it was idea club or parties, like it was always happening at our place. So that was really fun.
Yeah, I was on the architecture student association. So I was like, hey, we invite the entire school to our party. Like it feels like natural that the school should the association should sponsor it. And everyone's like, brilliant. So we would get like the association would pay for like beer and like a PA system, fog machine. It was like a little loosey goosey, but it's like something the entire student body could enjoy.
Yeah, I mean it's the bursary fund for beer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. How do you apply? Well, you just got to kind of find a way to bring everybody together and pay for some beer and some pizza and maybe some chicken wings.
Exactly.
And everybody will come together and have a great time. And then you develop a sense of camaraderie as a unit of school, which is, I mean, ultimately, it's probably some of the best, as we joke, probably the best funding that school could have put forward was developing a sense of like unity amongst the student body there.
Yeah, exactly. Because honestly, like I think the biggest value of going through architecture school is just the connections you make. Like,
yes.
Think about how many of the people that we went to school with we're still in touch with and good friends with. Like it really is huge in terms of shaping your career and the connections and knowing all those people for basically a lifetime afterwards. So it's really valuable, I think.
Do you still drink Alexander Keith's?
We actually don't really drink that much anymore.
Yeah,
getting old.
Yeah.
I had one bad hangover when I was 32. That was it.
Yeah.
I just know of everyone that's gone out into out east, and Alexander Keith's was the drink, and they all hate it now.
Okay, yeah, so we could probably be in that.
Yeah, it's not really my go-to. It was for a while, out of like nostalgia, but it's not really one I go to now.
Fair.
Yeah.
So let's talk about now going into like professional practice, and what did that look like? How did it start? Where'd you go? Did you go together?
So that was interesting because we had this momentum coming out of school with these projects that we had done, and we had this like we knew we had something. Like Matt and I were doing cool stuff, and we were able to like come up with awesome ideas and like execute on them. We basically kind of went about starting our practice right out of school, which was very different. Like usually you come out of school and you apprentice and you look to get registered. We decided we would just start right away because we had this momentum and some projects lined up that we decided, from Halifax, we would go back to the homeland and settle in Calgary and hang our shingle here and just go for it and see where we could take these opportunities. So,
what do the projects look like that you had lined up?
They were small. Like we started really after those kind of big projects that seemingly big. They kind of are the biggest projects to date, or not the Aster. We did the Aster, but they're pretty big compared to a lot of the stuff we're doing. We settled down in Calgary and started just working out of Matt's mom's shop, out of her garage and her living room, dining room. So that was kind of the beginnings. And the first project was to renovate Matt's mom's cafe, which she had owned. She owned for a long time, and it just needed a little bit of a refresher. So Matt and I took it on as our first opportunity and got paid in sandwiches and coffee.
Can I ask, were the sandwiches a step up from the PB&J at the camp?
Oh yeah, my mom, she's like, she brings it to a whole new level. She's an artist. She spoiled us rotten.
Yeah. So
and
so we came back to Calgary. That was 2013, and that's when it all started. Basically, that's when we named ourselves and started our website. And
what was the catalyst for the name?
Studio North. So yeah, I mean there was like the start of that, like the spark of that idea was in Halifax. The idea of North being like the way of understanding your place in space, kind of like a way of orienting yourself. So it's really this idea of context. Like that's what drives everything for us, is like you understand where you are, where you're standing, and what makes that place unique, whether it's the environmental conditions or the culture or the people, the community. Like that's what really drives design for us. And so I feel like, you know, you look on a drawing and you always look to north to understand, okay, where's the sun? You know, where's the prevailing winds? You know, you can always orient yourself by referring to, you know, northeast, southwest, or you look to the North Star to understand how to navigate. You know, so I feel like North is like this thing that really captures the essence of that, and that's kind of why we went with Studio North. And you know, it's a mark that everybody recognizes, especially in our profession, is the North arrow. So that's kind of where that came from.
And you didn't have your license right away, so you started, I assume, as a design practice.
Well, we still don't have our license. So
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call ourselves Architect with a K. It's just a slightly different pronunciation. No, I'm joking. We just but we have had opportunities to design big projects, and you know, in a way, we've been able to structure it where we still get to bring where we front end the projects with our creative skill set, and then we work with, you know, collaborate with other great architecture practices who bring it through the rest of the project. So, you know, there's always been ways we've navigated not being registered to kind of carry through some like bigger projects that we've been able to design to build. Yeah.
So that was the other part of this. As we haven't mentioned that at all. We referenced the fact that you build, but we haven't talked about the fact that it is largely design. This is a design build practice.
Well, we've shifted a bit in the last 2 years away from construction. So we we've taken a few licks in construction, and it's not that we don't love it. We still
no one can see right now that the two of them have the huge smiles on their face as the word licks in construction was referenced.
You know, I guess the one that kind of sealed the deal for us, we built this incredible housing project in Banff. It's on Banff Avenue, right out, like, it's a 33 dwelling affordable housing project.
Called the Aster.
It's incredible. It was in Canadian Architect a few months ago. We have a documentary coming out about it later this month.
Amazing.
And it was kind of like the one project where, you know, building in Banff over COVID just turned into this really kind of difficult thing. You know, plywood went from $40 to $140. Yep. You know, we went from having trades to like not having trades. We actually, you know, it was our framer backed out 2 weeks before he was supposed to be on site. Like, parkade was done. You know, he's like, sorry, Matt, I have can't finish my other projects. I can't find staff. So we had to self-perform the framing of this like massive project ourselves. So it was like, and then we had a small team of about 25 carpenters to like execute the rest of that project that we just built in this kind of unique way, where we were doing marketing to bring in journeyman carpenters from all over the world because we couldn't find any carpenters in Calgary. So
crazy.
We had carpenters from Australia, Germany, the UK, Scotland, all coming to work for us to build the Aster. So it was like kind of like a really unique experience. But after that, we just decided that we still build in the smaller speculative projects like that we develop ourselves, more like, you know, for like a historic renovation or something like that. We'll do that, but we don't do it for clients anymore, or at that scale.
Well, you just don't want to assume the risk. I mean, it's just you got all the risk.
There's that, you know, it's like you know, everything kind of like, I think, flows to the contractor. I know like architects say they have the liability, but I think it's a contractor, to be honest. Like, you know, it's like kind of like always the contractor's fault. And then I would say, we have young families. I have 3
Fine.
young kids. Mark has 2 young kids, and to be I think a contractor at a high level, you really got to dedicate your whole. You're thinking about weather. You're thinking about, does someone turn on the heat for like your your foundations in the winter? Did someone break in overnight? Is it going to rain tomorrow? Do I need to cancel trades? It's like you're never.
It's relentless.
It's just it's totally full, and our kids are at this beautiful young age that we don't want to miss. So we just decided, we still love construction, we love building, but we're just doing it at a different scale now.
Yeah, I think our priorities shifted, especially when we had kids, and we kind of realized that we were simultaneously running 2 companies that both had very different parameters and requirements, and we just said, you know what, first and foremost, we're more passionate about design, and that's at the heart of it, what we enjoy most. So we just made that decision, I think, and we've had so many really amazing opportunities now, and it's been really great. It's allowed us to be a little bit more nimble. We're smaller. Now we're not focusing so much on managing people and managing trades and what comes with that, because that's a handful. Now we're just a small, nimble design firm that does really amazing work. And I think doing construction for 12 years really made us better designers, because there's a pragmatism that comes with it, understanding you design something and then you're also responsible for building, and then you're also responsible for being the custodian of that thing for a number of years because of new home warranty. So, that's a lot of things to be responsible for. So if you better design it well, and know that it's going to perform well and it's going to meet all the requirements from
we didn't think of that detail.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. It's so and I think too, now we have the ability to have really real conversations with builders and trades on site, and know what their craft is, and know how to talk through things with them, and just everybody being on the same sort of plane. And I think that's a big value add for us as designers, because I think we bring that other sort of depth of knowledge that a lot of other designers, I would argue, don't.
Interesting. So now 2 years away from that practice, you said it was founded in 2020, as in 2013. So you're now entering your 13th year of practice. You've learned a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Count them on maybe a 1 hand, 2 hand, 3 hand, 4 hand. I don't know. I'm thinking of Guru and Mortal Kombat. So you've learned a couple things, and now when you look at the projects, what are the types of projects that excite you? What are the kind of projects that you want to be working on? And what does the studio look like now? How many people involved in the studio? Actually, let's start there. How many people? Well, no, let me restart that whole question. How many people were in a part of the practice when you started in 2013, 2014, 2015? How many people did you have?
Well, at first it was just Matt and I. So, we started really small, and in a way we kind of just had to make opportunities. And the best way to do that was to just take on a small project and self-perform everything from design through to construction, framing, everything, doing all ourselves. And then it just sort of snowballed from there. So that the very first employee that we had was Damon. So he was actually our roommate in one of our houses in Halifax. So Matt and I, we were doing our masters, and he was in his bachelor's, and at Dal they do a co-op work term program. So his first internship was with us. So that would have been 2014.
Okay.
So he moved to Calgary, and that was when we first opened our own little studio outside of Matt's mom's house.
And he's now our creative director.
Yeah.
Too.
So he's still with us, and he's also a partner too. So
good for him. Shout out.
Yeah. Awesome. So it's interesting, I think, how your career kind of shifts from kind of doing everything to now. I think in a way, the way I look at my role is almost to be the voice to, and Mark too, to like bring opportunities to like our team to be as creative as they possibly can. So, like to go out and find great clients, people to work with, who like believe in like the skill set that we have and allow kind of our team to be artists in the realm of design. I think it's interesting how you're like, we don't really draw too much anymore in terms of like the drafting, but we were very much a part of like the early stages of design. And then I think also just like the client advocate throughout the whole project, like, it's, that's an important stage. Like a lot, when I got married, like I invited like most of our clients, it's like, you really get to know people when you're designing a project for them. So it shifted, and now it's like my career is like also shifting. We have this other kind of interesting company called Ark House, and we market houses designed by architects, like our own speculative projects, and then we'll also market and sell. I like the title housing guide and not realtor, but just so it's realtor services. But it allows us to really be advocates for design, to allow people to like kind of like be able to speak to why design is more valuable, and like why like a house is more than like square footage and number of toilets you have. So it's really kind of opened a lot of doors in terms of our design practice, in terms of how we're finding opportunities to work with people, and then also just sharing Studio North to people who might not know about us.
Right.
And the other really kind of cool thing about that is an opportunity to learn about other really great designers and projects that are typically not really that public. So, I've learned a lot about like mid-century architects in Calgary and gotten to see some of their work. And, some of them you step into and you're just in awe, and you kind of just you want to unravel their thought process and their design process and really understand how they went about, designing this house for their client. And, you do that and you kind of unravel the story, and you not only get to tell that story to the public, but also you get to learn something from it. So in a way, it's like you get to be a better designer because you kind of like understand some of the moves they were making, and you can find ways to take those into your own practice. So that's another part of that I think is really exciting. It's like doing studies and and still educating yourself through your career.
And so evolution of project obviously has completely changed. Staffing, you've gone kind of up and down. Right sizing, I would assume, is what you're describing now, to an extent, like knowing now what you really want to be doing and focusing on.
There's about 6 of us now, and I think things are going like really well.
Right.
We're honestly more profitable as a company now than we were when we had like 20 people. We're not just like feeding the machine with projects. I think one thing that we're really trying to focus on is great clients. Because it is that important relationship. And I know Mark, he has like, really good radar with clients, and we're very fortunate and we're having just like nothing but great experiences. So it's interesting, when you're younger, and maybe that's just from being younger, like, oh, we want this design construction company, we want to like be this big thing. But it's like, I think now we're like early 40s. We're like, okay, this is a nice pocket to be in. It's like we only need like a few projects to like throughout the year. We got to focus on great service. We got to like really kind of tell a story of our clients, and it's more profitable. So it's like, it's kind of like a win-win-win-win-win.
Well, the best part, I would say, is having spoken to so many people about this now, everyone that I speak to suggests that the best part of your career, when you are, most profitable, you're engaged in all the types of projects you want to be in, and you've hit your full on stride, is in your 50s. So,
or 10 years
so
ahead.
if you're already progressing to that now, it sounds like you're going to have a pretty great run over the next 20 years.
To be fair, I think we worked so many hours in our 20s and 30s that we've kind of like made up that 10 years of experience already, if you know what I mean.
Oh, you've shaved 10 years? Okay. Well,
Yeah. We worked that extra 10 years in our 20s and 30s. Yeah.
That explains the beards.
Exactly. Yeah. I got a lot more gray.
You've already used up all the razors shaving off the time.
Yeah. That's right.
I could bill more now that I have gray in my beard. That's gonna increase my billables by how many gray hairs I have.
So outside of practice and outside of the professional side of things, you've referenced that you have kids. What does life look like outside of practice? What do you get to do for yourselves that allows you to take your mind off of the stresses associated with work? And I know that never really dissipates. It's always kind of there as a hum. But outside of that, what are some of the, whether it's family and activities or travel, like what is it that you like to do for yourselves to disengage from practice?
I live out on an acreage, and I think that's like the biggest thing is like that connection to nature, just like being outside and quiet. And I have an awesome wood shop, and I think that's the thing that I'm just passionate about making too. So it's something I share with my kids is, they get to see me and we get to work on projects together, like building creative, like coming up with that idea. Then like we're going outside and figuring out how to do it. And then I wish they just like, I think kids just have this amazing way of like showing you all the beautiful things in your life that you overlook, like trees, grass, like pine needles, dinosaurs, all these things that you kind of forget that are really awesome. Kids just kind of bring you back.
Yeah.
I would say similar to Matt, like really passionate about building stuff still. Like I just finished a new garage that has like my dream shop in it, and spending time in there with the kids. And then we have a family cabin out in Windermere, so that's really a special place for us too. So again, like getting out into nature, because nature I think is like so inspiring, like
yes.
Just being able to be out there and be in just enveloped in nature, and you go for walks or whatever with your kids and just talk about things. Like one of the things that my son loves to do is he calls it just exploring nature. So we would go and like lift rocks and see what's under the rocks, and we talk about this little world that's underneath there, and we talk about like all the different little creatures that are living there, or we'll go and find something else to explore, like trying to balance on logs, and just getting lost out there is like that's a really good way to unwind for me, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you see it behind me here. I got that paddle. Like one of my favorite things to do. Toronto's a crazy metropolis, right? And so getting out, I have a buddy that we go on canoe trips once a year, and they're short. It's only a couple days.
That's pretty awesome.
But getting out and doing some backcountry paddling and portaging, and having all your essentials in your pack is just an absolute joy. And when you come back and you get that shower afterwards,
Yeah.
you talk about feeling grounded. Like you put your hand against the wall and that hot water's coming down, and you're like, hot dog, I get this every day, but like today's shower is a good one.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
But that feeling of connection when you're out there and you're exploring nature, and you don't have the sound of cars and horns and people talking, and you are immersed in actually reconnecting with the natural sounds that the world has to provide, it completely reroutes you in some of those things that you completely forget about in the hustle of life.
Yeah.
And to your point, kids, man, like look what they do. You talk about how they made you reassess what you wanted to do for yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's the beauty of the innocence of children.
It is. Oh yeah, I have a 1-year-old, and man, like, and it's probably our last kid, and you just see him.
Probably.
Wow, who knows? If the universe really wants me to have another one, but just the innocence and joy that they find in playing with our dog, or it's like a sight to be seen. It really is.
Well, I mean, because you're not far away from it. That's the first time you hear your child laugh, right? The first time you hear that laugh. I remember that when my oldest daughter, when she had her first laugh, I recorded it and I made it my ringtone.
The best sound in the whole world. Yeah.
And every time my wife would call me, I would be like laughing, answering the phone. She's like, "Oh yeah, right. You made this the ringtone." I was like, I mean, it's so good.
Yeah. It reminds you of like the joys of life, you know. That's what kids are all. Yeah.
Look, I mean, I say it a lot on here, but like one of the reasons why I really like doing this with people is because it's about humanizing the people that help design the world that we get to experience. And so it also, you know, like you guys started as children, and those early concepts of creativity and intrigue and ideas, but also like the inquisitiveness of like, how does the world work and where do I fit in the world, is something that you are now re-engaging in a completely different way. And it's so much fun to be a part of that and talk to people that are utilizing all of that knowledge and the depth of history that has gone into their life to then learn from their client on how to make their life better through design. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to be a part of it and hear everyone's independent story. So like, I got to tell you guys, I so greatly appreciate you taking time to do this. It's been a ton of fun learning about all of it.
It's an honor. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
It's hard to summarize life, right? Like, yeah, it's cool. We'll just take our lives and summarize it into like an hour and a bit. No problem. But I appreciate you taking the time to do it. I appreciate your candor. I appreciate you setting up time to take away from studio for this. And I wish you all the best with your continued success, both in practice, but also personally, and you know, professionally and collectively. I hope that you guys continue to have good health and that your families have that too. And I thank you for all of it. Thanks for being a part of this.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. It's always fun to kind of have an opportunity to reflect, you know, because quite often you put your nose down and it's like you forget to think about how fortunate we are and blessed we are, and, you know, and to look back on our story is kind of a, you know, it doesn't happen very often. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to tell our story.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, and you are like, same to you all, you right back at you, Jonathan. We want nothing but great things for you as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And say hi to Sherry for us.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll call her after this.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right.